Hello everybody, welcome to the signal box, and we're on the evening shift, on the late shift, the 10 shift today as it were, the old back shift as I used to call it when I was up in the box. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and if you're a regular viewer to the channel, hi and welcome again to another video. So let's crack on. So on the table, on my little temporary workbench that I've got set up here, this is where I do all my heavy maintenance and overhaul work. In the seclusion of one's room, in peace and quiet, a little bit of therapy. Therapy's always good. So we've got the chassis of Seagull. This is the one that I was talking about in the last video, and the one before that about I was having problems, as you saw, running on my layout with it being very erratic. And even though I've soldered a permanent connection between the tender drawbar and the tender and the motor, I was reading some comment or two, people saying, well, no, take this thing apart and clean out all the axles. And that's actually what I've done this evening. I've got a pile of dead cotton buds over there that have well and truly been used. As you can see, they're reasonably grimy. I was suspecting them to be a little bit blacker than that, but they actually weren't. So that's a good sign. But I've actually had this apart, and I've just put the keeper plate underneath on temporarily to make sure I've got the driving wheels round the right way round, because if you don't put these in the correct way round, you won't get the electrical contact and it won't work. So basically what I've done, I've took off all the linkages, all the pistons and con rods and all the washers and spacers, and I've got everything off. So I'm just going to pop this on the track and I'll show you what happens. Okay, so what I've done here, I've taken off the linkage on both sides. So this set of linkage is for that side of the loco, further side is for that side, and there's a little plastic bracket that sits in that space there. Very easy to do, and that's as it is really. So I'll put that there in the middle so I know what goes in where. So now we've just got the bare chassis, and just to give a bit of backstory in terms of cleaning, I've got the tender hooked up obviously permanently, the brushes, springs, commutator faceplate, the faceplate itself, wheels, everything in this tender drive mechanism and the motor has been spotlessly and meticulously polished and cleaned. It's a good motor and it runs very sweetly, and there's nothing wrong in terms of motor performance. It's a good one. Everything works perfectly. The gears are all meshed nicely. There's no wear and tear on the drive cog. It's a good motor. The problem is this, it's the chassis. So now we've cleaned all the wheel rims, we've cleaned the back edges, and what I'll do actually, if I stop this really quickly, I'll take the keeper plate off underneath, I'll remove the keeper plate, and you can see inside what I've done. Okay, so I've now got this on the table, obviously without the keeper plate on top. Obviously that's the keeper plate there, that piece of plastic as mentioned, and that hole was swimming in oil. It's still got a little bit of oil on that, but it was actually very oily. When I actually lifted it off, this thing was really swimming in oil underneath, which is not good. That's too much oil, and obviously picks up grease and crap in there, and that probably didn't help. So looking at top shot there, this is the Achilles heel of the running problem, I suspect. So you've got a cast block here. I think it's white, not white metal, but it's a very conductive material, obviously, to make the thing work. My point being, I think these axle slots were absolutely filthy. If I just lift one off, so you can see now, not only are the axles been polished up clean, but the actual recesses, if you can see that at home there, those were black inside. They weren't particularly that clean. So they've been polished up and buffed up with some kitchen towel, lighter fluid, cotton bud, and some contact cleaner as well, and the whole thing has been clean. As you can see, those axles are a bit more, that's better, isn't it? You can see they're reasonably shiny and in good nick now. They're much better, and I've done that with all these. So these, again, that's been cleaned out. If it looks darker in there, that's the actual paint finish from the actual mould, so it's not dirt in there. That's all been scrubbed out, believe it or not. So yeah, so that goes in that way, and these have got to go in a certain way. I'll show you why in a minute. So if you take that out like that, again, you can see that there, those axles look much nicer, didn't they? And those axle slots, as you can see there, look a lot better as well. Okay, that's better. Okay, so as mentioned, these driving wheels have got to go in a certain way, otherwise your tender drive loco will not pick up from the track, because they have to be set up in a certain way. They have to correspond with the left and right rail of your track, which is this thing here. So if you look here, if we zoom down a little bit with the camera, I'll just take one out just to show you and demonstrate. On one side of that driving wheel, it's a plain casting finish. On the other side, there's an insulated bushing on that black thing there. That's the bit of insulating bushing there. So all the insulated black bushings have to go on this side, not the other side. Sometimes there's a huge mistake. People buy these on eBay or buy them from secondhand somewhere. They put it on the track, the wheels seem very clean and the motor's okay, and they put it on the track and nothing happens. Normally it's because at some point someone's reassembled it and by mistake put it around the wrong way. So that is a common problem. So what I'll do, if I can do this with one hand off camera, I'm going to get my oily pen out and I'm going to try and do this with one hand on the camera and one hand doing the other. So what I'll do is just swap hands, and this is what I'm going to do. So this is obviously model railway lubrication oil. It's a very thin, light oil. It's not too heavy, but it does the job. It's for lubrication purposes, and also it will do the job for what I want to do. If you've got sewing machine oil, that's the same consistency roughly, but this is as pretty much the same fluidness, if you like. Anyway, what I'm going to do in simple terms, I'm just going to oil, if it comes out today, there we go, put a thin bit in there, and I'll come along and do a thin bit in there, bit in the middle, come along to the next one. Okie dokie. You don't want loads and loads, you don't want it swimming in there, loads of oil, enough to fry chips in, but you want a little bit in there, not overly swimming. So if that's really about I'm going to do, and then what it should happen is they should nicely freewheel, whoops, without demolishing the chassis. So already I can see that we need to put a little bit more in that because I'm not quite happy. So all I'm going to do is just put these out in the right order so we don't mix them up, so they don't get swapped around. So we know that when we put them back in reverse order, they go back in the same fashion. So if we look at these slots there, there's not that much oil. I'm just going to get this on camera. Yeah, I can see there's oil going in there. Oil in there. A bit of oil in there. That's lovely. As you can see, that's sparkling on the camera, that's oil. Maybe a bit too much, but even so, let me bosh that back in there like that. That's what I want. That's what I want. There we go. I can feel that. There's no squeakiness or tightness. That is what we want. Right, okay, so I'll get the keeper plate back on and we get some assembly going, shall we? So grab a tea or coffee and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, we've sort of gone back to basics a little bit. The bracket that holds the linkage motion, this plastic bit, as I mentioned earlier on, I found out one of the lugs had snapped off underneath, so it was only barely holding by one lug inside the hole. So I've just added a little bit of super duper nasty glue in there and I've boshed a little bit underneath there, so give that a few moments to dry and then we'll reassemble. Okay, welcome back. So we've got everything reassembled chassis wise. So we've got all the washers and spacers, the com rod pins, the crank connecting rods, the piston assembly, the valve gear, everything is back on and lubricated. And I can feel that's much better. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll reassemble and we'll just do a little test. Okay folks, so we've got everything assembled. So we've got everything on here. This has been cleaned and it's been given a drop of oil in the axle recesses. The axle recesses have been cleaned out, as we saw earlier. Any grease or any gump in there that might have been, even sometimes you get a little bit of fluff. It's only got to be a tiny amount, just to prevent the current from going through the chassis nice and easy. And maybe that's what was in there, I don't know. But everything's assembled on here, like I said. All the con rods, washer spacer screws, valve gear assembly, everything on there, including that plastic valve gear bracket, has been super glued in there. That's been repaired. So everything, we've got a nice smooth free running chassis. And let's just see what happens now. So again, we've got, just to reiterate the point, we've cleaned out the axle holes. They've been cleaned with lighter fluid, contact fluid as well, cleaned with a cotton bud and with some paper towel afterwards. A little drop of loco lubrication oil in the axle slots. The wheels surfaces, the flanges have been polished highly. The back edges of the wheels are clean. Even the linkages I've given a good polish up. Everything, including the motor, this is all from head to toe, spick and span. Now, admittedly, my bit of test track isn't 100%, but it is clean enough. But let's see if we can have anything out of this today. Would help for selective gear, wouldn't it? If I select the direction, there we go. What do we get? Oh yeah, look at that. So I can get it to crawl. Again, like I said, my test track isn't the best, but you know what, guys? I think we've got a fighting chance here. Most definitely a fighting chance. Like I said, my test track isn't the best, so I'm just doing it by hand on here. Yeah, she wants to run. Okay, well, the reason I'm doing this video, folks, is because of one or two comments on my previous video about some erratic running with this particular Hornby Margate made A4. And I wanted really just to sort of, as the old-fashioned saying goes, proof in the pudding, right? So I wanted to try some suggestions that people have sent in the comments box about stripping this down, cleaning out the axle slots, and then re-lubricating with a bit of oil, cleaning out any fluff, gump or grease that might have been in there, even in stuff that's invisible to the naked eye, which I've done. I've documented it all on camera so you can see. So the last test we will do on this loco is in the next layout session. I will get this running and we will see what happens when it goes over point work. The only thing that I could do, I'm thinking about, now there's a little suggestion out there. I want you to give me a shout out in the comments box below this video, apart if you've liked the video today, obviously. But what I would really appreciate, you guys, and it's quite a serious question, is this is just a little proposal. Should I get 2 points and make up a crossover? I'll make up a little mini piece of test track so that it can go over point work on my test track, so it can test the proof for the pudding if everything is okay. Should I get some points and make up a test track with a crossover? Do you think that will be helpful or not? We'll see. Anyway, in the meantime, it's definitely better. I can hear it. Oh yeah, it wants to go. Oh yeah, it's got power in that motor. Oh yes, it's definitely wanting to go. Oh yes. I think that's going to be a nice runner. Do you know what? Yeah. Okay, well, there we go. All we can do now is really wait until the next video when I get this out and see what happens. If this still stalls on my layout and I know that I've got nothing wrong with my track, everything electrically is good, my points are clean, electrically my points are fine, I've got probably one of the finest analog model railway controllers out there, which is one of these. It's a Gauge Master twin track simulator and brake. Although it's quite an oldish model by today's analog standards, this is blows into the water anything else out there Hornby have got, even the HM200 or 2000, whatever it is. But it's certainly a very beefy, very, very powerful unit. So that never lets me down, and I know it's definitely not the power supply of the track. If every other loco runs around my layout faultlessly and this was having problems, you know it's definitely down to either that or that bit in the middle. We've beefed up that bit in the middle, so everything's clean, as mentioned, from smoke box to end of the tender. Everything is now electrically clean, making good contact. We've cleaned out the axle spacing areas, as mentioned in the couple of comments. So we shall now really see if the proof is in the pudding and what people have said will improve it. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm quite a fair, straight up bloke. I really am. I'll say it as it is. And if someone has proven me wrong and said, you know what, you need to clean out the axle points on this loco or these type of locos, and I say, you know what, I'm not calling you a liar, but I don't think it's going to work. And you know what, I always like to try things, and I'm quite honest. So if this works on my model railway, which is stood behind me there, if this works and it goes across my point work without no problems, whoever gave me those comments in the box, I will give you a shout out, definitely. So let's just see, shall we? Okay, interesting. But here's the video for posterity of what I've done on this Hornby Seagull model. It's a real shame because it is a lovely loco, and maybe it's the way forward for some other tender drive models that I've got in my collection. You never know. I've got a Hornby Schools class, Dover, as mentioned. I might try that same thing on that to see if that improves it. But that doesn't seem to play up on my railway, and that's fine going across point. So it might have been just this one thing. Anyway, it's always good to learn, and always, I think, in life you are never too old to learn. Anyway, having said that, I'm going to put this back together now and I'm off. So I'll see you soon in the next model railway video. Take care, happy modelling, and thanks for watching. Goodbye now.